What's up there, my friends? How's it going? I'm going to try to get straight to the point because I've tried to start this video like 3 times and for some reason I just can't seem to get my shit together. I just got off work. It's been a long day. I guess I'm tired. I'm still at the customer's house. He's out of town. He doesn't live in town most of the time. And I thought I'd wait out traffic and make a little video about, well, a topic that seems to be controversial that shouldn't be. And that topic is the economy. Funny enough, I've been talking with my friends quite a bit about the economy lately. Probably not surprising, considering what's going on politically in my country with the whole tariff thing. But this isn't about that. Many decisions that are made by leaders are horrible for the economy, and some end up being good. Some are good for some people, some are bad for some people. That's not my expertise or my line of expertise. I'm a carpenter. That's why I'm here working, and I'm not an economist. However, as a layman, I still listen to economists, and I listen to what people have to say about why the world is the way it is. And just as I was finishing up here, I was also finishing listening to a podcast by a guy, Gary. His name's Gary, and he has a channel called Gary's Economics. Some of you might have seen him before, some of you maybe not. He's from the UK, and in a nutshell, he's a person who went to school to understand finance and economics. Then he got a job, I think, with I don't know if it was like Bear Stearns or one of these big companies where he was moving lots of money, and he saw how the system worked and made himself a lot of cash. However, he's one of the rare cases where he actually came from a very poor background, like lived in the ghetto. So this guy took economics, was able to get himself out of poverty, and instead of just turning on his fellow man like so many people do when they get wealth, he started talking about economics and trying to help other people to get out of poverty. He sacrificed quite a bit to be the kind of person he is, what he speaks about. Basically putting a target on your back when you start talking bad about the rich. I know it damn well, even speaking just on my channel, talking about wealthy people, I get attacked every time. Because usually I get this very old cliche of, well, if you just work hard too, or, well, there's a few of them. One is, don't be jealous because they're billionaires. Another one is, that just shows how you can work hard and be successful in this country. And what people are ignoring is the very basic premise that rich have been getting richer and the poor have been getting poorer, and the middle class is being forced out. And I realized the problem after listening to this particular podcast. It's not that this isn't actually happening, it's that people just aren't aware of it. The average person doesn't have time to go out and research what's going on with every other household around them. Maybe their neighborhood's fine and they're doing okay. And I'll tell you, I'm one of those people who started out poor. I'd use a calculator at the grocery store, go to the cheapest store, buy everything generic, and try my best just to make it by. But now my wife and I can actually afford to save a little bit of money, and we have plans and if things we want to do in the future. We don't have a lot, but we got a little. And that's more than over half of American households have. They said well over half of American households don't even have $500 for an emergency. Now, I remember what it's like to feel that way, to literally live check to check, to where you'd have to literally borrow money from people to pay your electric bill or your phone bill, whatever it might be. And whenever these things are talked about, like I said, you get this old, well, people just need to work harder. And it's bullshit. And thanks to Gary, he's one of the few people out there who actually speaks truth to power. And towards the end, he was just mentioning how we all need to share this. He's like, it's up to all of you too. He's like, people need to share how they really feel about this, even if you get attacked. And that's why I'm here, to talk about taxing the rich. It's such a controversial topic, to tax the rich. And you'll get all kinds of responses from people who are completely uninformed on the topic. But the people who give you the most information about it are the ones who have money, the ones who have invested money. I've personally seen how people react when they actually have money invested in something. They're willing to compromise integrity when it comes to other people. Like, their bottom line matters the most. And it's easy to just kind of assume everybody else is just an NPC, non-existent. You just make your own money and everyone's happy. But here's the problem. My ancestors worked hard. Your ancestors worked hard to get where we are. And we're not doing better than our grandparents. We're not even doing better than our parents. We're doing worse. And my kids are doing even worse than that. And my son's not able to buy a house. And my teenagers aren't going to be able to buy a house. Because you need to spend $500,000 to get a basic fucking 1,000 square foot home out here. So, where is the problem? So, one of the interesting things about economics is a lot of it's bullshit. In other words, Gary, he took an economics class and all these courses, got his master's, and he was talking about how they base everything on math. And when something goes outside of the norms, what they say is not that, oh, we got it wrong, but rather, oh, that's outside the norm, outside the math. Because, and I never thought about this aspect of it. There are people out there who claim expertise because they have math equations for the economy. And folks don't know whether to believe them or not. This is the ultimate version of gaslighting. This is what's being done to the whole population. Convincing you that other people know better than you do. Don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what you see in your own neighborhoods. Don't believe the own decline in your own situation. Just keep feeding money to these billionaires. And we do it. And people are doing it. And now it's become even more of a contentious discussion because all the billionaires are in office in this country and they've got bootlickers left and right that really think these people care about them. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm looking at the economy and thinking, every financial expert in the world that I've looked into says, yes, putting universal tariffs is a horrible thing and that will actually hurt the consumer the most. And then I think, well, what happened to, lowering taxes? Anytime you hear about lowering taxes in this country, it's always for the wealthy. Every fucking time. So that guy Gary, he's actually from the UK, which is why it's nice to listen because they have the same situation over there. But really what it comes down to is a lack of awareness by the general public and an information gap because we aren't told the fact that, well, first off, nobody really understands how the full economy runs. There's nobody out there who has an equation for this is how economics works. Economics is the study of how money flows and works, but it's not a settled science. Okay, this information gap, unfortunately, is compromised by the fact that most of the media is owned by the wealthy, right? That's why you got guys like Bezos buying the Washington Post and limiting what stories can talk about him. People don't want to be called out. The wealthy don't want to be called out. The best way to do that is to buy the fucking media that calls you out. And that's what a lot of them do. And this has been an unfolding process, especially over the last 40 years. It's just gone off the rails. And why we need to talk about it is because if at one time they would convince you that the problem was foreigners, okay, and they're still doing that, of course. It's all immigration. That's why our economy's bad. Give me a fucking break. Educate yourself. It's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Oh, we're giving all these checks to foreigners, and that's why we're broke. I can't even entertain the stupidity of that because, sure, everything contributes to the bottom line. But the biggest problem is corporations, the very ones who fund these elections and the ones who use stock buybacks to not pay their fair share, to not pay taxes. The wealthiest people increased by billions. This wasn't the case when I was young. This wasn't the case when I was even in my 20s. There weren't just billionaires making another $100 billion in a few months. This isn't normal. But we see it as normal. But not only have we convinced a lot of Americans that the problem is their neighbors, left, like Canadians and Mexicans, right? They're literal neighbors. Like half the country is out to get you, right? And I don't want to push on this too much because I know it gets political, but it's important. It's fucking stupid to assume that half the country is dumb. And that goes for the liberals who are saying the same thing about to conservatives. Look, we all want the same thing, most of us. There's a few people who really push the buttons. Those people, I'm not going to say the shadow government or the deep state. It's simpler than that. It's just money talking. I mean, yes, there are people out there behind the scenes pulling the strings, but really society works the way it works. In other words, there's only so much you can plan for and control. But if you convince people that they have no power and that they're just broke and that's the way it is, and that's the way it's always been, people are okay with it. We see this. Everybody, every day, just going about their day, not actually standing up for anything that matters as a group. And that was what Gary was talking about. Like, you need to have a critical mass that's willing to stand up before you take action. So, is this possible? And what does the word fair even mean? Like, what is fair? What would be equal? Am I saying that rich people should have all their money taken away and given to the poor? No, of course not. That's stupid. And that's the argument that a lot of people make when you talk about this. Oh, well, you can't just steal from people. But I question the idea of Robin Hood, right? When you bring that up, a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, well, he was just a thief, a bad guy. Why is he always shown as a friendly, kind fellow? What does that say about society that some people hate Robin Hood and some people love him? It shows that some people are broke and they think that stealing is okay if some people are suffering. We've always lived in a world like that. If each tribe was happy and they had enough food for the winter, they'd be fine. If not, they'd go to war over food. Now we go to war over land that might not even, human life, the way that we treat the average person, it's unacceptable. And the way that we treat people in even our own countries, because they have less money, as if their opinion doesn't matter, that's a travesty. It really is. I think if people realize that automation and AI and technology has really changed the way that things operate, instead of seeing it as a threat to us and our jobs, quote jobs. And remember, these jobs were to produce products and create things. Our ancestors, our grandparents, our parents, us, we invented these machines which can now produce things on their own. They still need maintenance, but we're all part of this. It's a human experiment that we work on together. It shouldn't be hoarded. But the ones that cannot be bought off, the ones who, even if they are wealthy, they will speak out, I say a lot of them end up being what some call whistleblowers, which in fact is kind of it's a bothersome idea, the way that many whistleblowers are treated, like Julian Assange, or I always forget when I'm actually trying to think of people's names, but you know who I'm talking about, the guy with the glasses. Anyway, these people who have actually risked their own lives and their freedom to tell Americans, yeah, you're being lied to and cheated and frauded. The fact that people still go against them and say they're traitors because that's what they're told, it shows me that people don't really think sometimes about, what's important, or maybe they have different values. Maybe to them, they just want to be told what's real. But to me, I think all of these people are heroes. Even Gary, a guy who could have made millions of dollars and been a billionaire by now, probably doing trading or something, and he decided, I'm leaving this because it's corrupt and I'm going to go out and speak and talk to the public and inform them. And he obligated me to speak about it as well. So here I am. This division, this hatred of each other, It's no better to have the hate directed at the wealthy, but we do need to have a focus on equality and fairness because it is possible. And I feel like I've been gaslit a lot and almost convinced myself that maybe it's just the way it is. You know, it's a dog eat dog world. Just slap myself and say, no, bull fucking shit. It's not just a dog eat dog world. If you believe that, then you're just part of the problem. And, you know, by not talking about it, I feel like I'm part of the problem. Your ancestors fought for your future. Do not be gaslit by wealthy people into thinking that money doesn't matter when they're the ones that hoard all the wealth. I've seen the charts. I've seen how the economy has just gone bucking through the roof for the wealthiest over the last 10 years. And when COVID hit, most of the COVID relief money that fucked up the economy went to corporations and people who abused it. So, you know, the same thing happened in 2008 with the financial crisis. Obama bailed out the fucking banks, not the homeowners. What does this tell you about the values and importance of the citizen in your country? Yeah, people need to rise up. They need to take back what's theirs. And this might sound like theft. And maybe it will be. I don't know. But, you know, the day that all people rise up, all Americans rise up and actually take back, left and right, religious and non, taking back your financial future, because money matters. My kids have to grow up in this world, okay? I don't want them to be broke and never be able to afford a house and be depressed because life sucks because they can't afford anything. That's bullshit. It's unacceptable. My parents were young. You know, one member of the household was able to work. They could afford a car, a house, retire. That's not possible anymore, even with two fucking people working. My wife and I work, both of us work, and we still do okay. It's like, you know, we just take it as normal and accept it. And I call bullshit on it. So that's just, wanted to get that off my chest. Check out Gary's channel, Gary's Economics. He's a very smart guy. I've listened to a lot of his podcasts on these topics. And it's always been something that bothered me, but I guess him making the point that, yeah, you don't have to be an expert on these things because he went to school for it and said these guys don't know shit. They use a math equation. They think they understand how everything works. And when something falls outside the norm, it's just like, oh, I don't know. Real world is like some mystery to them. All they know is let these companies buy back their own stock so they don't have to pay taxes. And yeah, I have a right to be jaded about it, and so do you. And I'm definitely not here to explain the economy as an economist or an expert on it. I'm just here to say what I observe and to define my frustration with it. Feel free to share yours. Peace. I'll talk to you next time.